Hello my scrappy peeps, it's Cheyenne and I'm back with another process scrapbooking video for you today. Oh, I have got this picture of my kiddo. We were doing arts and crafts and I walked away for a second and I came back and this is how he was sitting, just chillaxing, you know. And it's not a fantastic quality photo, but I used my Pixelomatic. Let me just double check that real fast. Yes, Pixelomatic. That app right there to kind of give it a more distressed look, to make it look like it's like bad quality on purpose. But I just thought, like, this is my kid. Like, I'll walk into a room and he's just chilling in a corner somewhere, just kind of strangely. So we're going to be commemorating that. I've got a 12 by 12 piece of white cardstock as my base. I have used my Cricut machine to cut out some different die cut pieces. I love doing this. This is where Cricut Access really comes in handy because I have access to so many cartridges without buying them. I can pull it all into a template in my design studio, and I can go ahead. I usually take a shape, like a 4x6 shape, whatever the size my photo I have, and I'll place it on there and I'll start arranging different elements. So you can really audition and try out your different elements before you go ahead and print and cut. Then when you print and cut, you have so many different options. I print and cut onto cardstock. You could do it onto sticker paper or vinyl, whatever you choose. You print it out, you bring it over to your Cricut, you know, connect it to your laptop via the USB cord or Bluetooth, depending on what machine you have, and you go ahead and cut them out, and you have your own perfectly sized elements. You can also play around a little bit before you flatten out the layers of your print and cut, different patterns and colors. So if something's not matching exactly right, you do have a little bit of leeway to do that, and I will do a video on that at some point in the future, how to kind of tweak these a little bit. I also have a piece of Tim Holtz distressed paper that I have cut up. I don't know if this paper is still available, but this was a big 12 by 12 sheet and I just cut it up. It's kind of the grungy, I don't even remember the name of the paper stack. I separated the paper a long time ago and I don't have that reference. So we're going to be doing some mixed media on the background and kind of playing around and putting this all together. We're going to start out by getting some gesso on the background. Gesso is something that kind of prepares the paper for anything liquid that you're going to put on it. So if you're going to be doing a lot of watercolor or working with some liquidy substances, gesso is a good thing to use. A lot of artists prep their canvases with it so that, you know, it turns the canvas fabric material into an actual surface. So that's a whole lot of fun. So I just took some white gesso and my palette knife and just kind of put it on part of that white 12 by 12 cardstock. I didn't want to put it on all of it, and you'll see why in a little bit. I set that aside to dry, and while that's drying, I'm just kind of playing around with the arrangement that I'm wanting to go with. Just my different layers and everything, and it changes a bit by the time I'm finally done, but this kind of, you know, helps you see it all with the photo. The Cricut is fantastic for getting an idea of what you want, but your actual photo is not there. So the colors in it might it might change things a little bit, and depending on what surface you're printing your die cuts on, that's going to change how saturated those colors are, and depending on your printer too. Let's face it, there's nothing equal when it comes to print and cut. Oh, I wanted to bring out the edges of some of my faux matting, so I just used my Tim Holtz distressing tool to distress those edges up. That exposes a little bit of a white core, so you're getting a little bit of an edge to that. And I'm going to go ahead and adhere the pieces that I know are going to be on kind of the same plane, do what I can. There was pieces I wanted to pop up with foam dots or dimensionals, and I wanted a lot of different elevations. I wanted to create some shadows with this and just have fun with it. And again, I'm putting it together, seeing what I can go ahead and adhere and what I should wait on, what I'm not so sure about. You see that end of that little speech bubble there, I keep moving it around and trying to make it work because I like the overall pattern of it, but it's tough, and that's what you got to do sometimes. You just got to keep going. Now, if you get too impatient, like I often do, you can grab your heat tool. This is the Stampin' Up! Heat tool. It's got 2 settings on it, and really comes in handy for heat embossing and quick drying your paint, and anything that you want to quick dry and set. So I'm just doing that, and then we are going to have fun with the technique that I'm going to be playing with. So I'm spraying down my cardstock with some water, and then I've got my Distress re-inkers. Distress ink itself is water reactive, so I am just dropping that down, and then I am moving the paper around to get that color to move, and it's going to kind of stick in the parts that you gessoed, so that's really awesome. And you can get a lot of different serendipitous sort of patterns going on. The paper that's not coated in the gesso, it is going to get a little saturated with all of this, so you want to kind of be patient with everything. And if you happen to get any of the ink on the cardstock that's not covered with the gesso, it is going to soak up that ink a lot more. But this was a whole lot of fun to do, and I'm definitely going to have to play with this technique a lot more. It was a whole lot of fun, and I'm so glad that I found another use for my re-inkers. I love the way it turned out. It looks like a hot mess right now, but trust me, once it's all together, it looks really awesome. And now I've got my distress marker in black soot, and I'm just using my little marker spritzer tool. This is an awesome tool. I'm so glad that I purchased it. I use it a lot. And I'm just spritzing on like little black dots, and then I'm spritzing water on to get those dots to kind of move around, and it lightens up the color of the black soot too. So that was really cool. I mean, mixed media is all about having fun. And then as I was like blotting up some of the water pools with my little towel there, I noticed that it was making these little textured marks. So I decided to go ahead and add those little textured like pounces all over. After looking at it finished, I decided that there were some spots when it was just on the cardstock part that were a little darker than I wanted them to be, so I just grabbed my gesso and went over them lightly, so it just kind of brought that down. And then it's time to continue to rearrange things and try to figure out where I want everything, where everything's going to pop up. I decided that I didn't really want the embellishments to pop up too much. I did want them to kind of fade in with the background, and I think it does a really nice job of doing all of that. There I go with the bottom of that speech bubble again. I end up using it as a journaling spot, so it did come in handy. And that arrow, it pops out too much, so that ends up getting nixed, and I'll use it in a different project. I love these die cuts from the Cricut machine. It's just so fun to be able to do that and customize the size of everything and be able to cut it all up. It's a great option, and then I can print out however many I want, however many I need. Now you might notice that every now and again the camera shakes, the whole screen kind of shakes. That's because I'm actually hitting my head on my camera because I have it suspended from my ceiling. So I really need to start watching and paying attention to where my camera is, because I do it all the time. Even when I'm not working on projects, I still end up hitting my head on the camera. So either I've got to pull it up or I've got to figure something out. Right, so I get everything together and I decide, you know what, we need some black stamping. So I get out some of my paint splatter stamps, and I've got Stampin' Up! Basic Black Archival ink that I'm stamping with. And I think this just adds a nice little accent. And this is just a distressed script stamp. I'm wiping around the edges because I don't want any harsh lines. I want it to kind of fade in and out of everything. It's just there as a background texture. I don't need it to be anything else but that. You may have noticed that I have been gluing in sections, in layers, as I'm deciding where everything is. This is a great way to kind of audition pieces that you're not too sure about, but go ahead and adhere the ones that you are. And I used, I found these foam sheets at Walmart in the craft section for cheap, so I've just been cutting those up and using my Scotch Quick Dry glue. And that's what's in that bottle there. I think I'm going to have to pick up the Fine Tech bottle though. This one, like, it works nice once it's going, but every time like I step away from it for too long, I have to like clean out the nozzle in order to get a good flow to it. So keep that in mind. Here I'm just writing my journaling. That template is from a stencil that I bought so many years ago. It's crazy, but it's great to go ahead and draw your lines, whether you want them in pencil and erase them later, or if you want to actually keep them on there. And I just wrote my journaling there, pretty much the story that I told you in the intro. And I'm going to take that circle. It's just not working. So I'm going to pull out some washi tape, some black and white stripe washi tape. And I love washi tape. That just adds like the finishing touch. I'm going to take my Heidi Swap date stamper with some of the Stampin' Up! Basic Black Archival, and I'm going to stamp up on the top part of that speech bubble there that I cut up earlier. And then we will be all done. Okay, so this is the finished scrapbook layout. I love all of the texture in the background. I added some stamping with little paint splotch marks around and some script just in Stampin' Up! Basic Black Archival. Any black ink that you have, any stamps that you have will work. I really feel like the photo does kind of pop out. It's a little bit darker than everything else, so it kind of stands out. Everything else, I feel it's kind of like almost like a watercolor wash, like it's there. You have like each of your pieces, but they kind of all blend and flow together. I love the technique that I did on the background. I'm gonna have to experiment a little bit more with it, maybe like doing along the top and just have it drip down in like browns and rust colors to make it look like it's rust dripping. That could be a fun little effect. I added some washi tape, black and white stripe, because I felt it needed a little bit more black, something a little bit more to anchor it. Washi is a great tool when you need a little something, but you don't want to go too crazy. There's a sheerness to it, so it's not going to stand up and be too bright. So I love that. I hope I've inspired you to print out those photos and start commemorating your moments. You don't have to do titles. You don't have to do journaling. This is just about being creative, being artistic, and getting your photos, your memories, where people can see them and look at them. And scrapbooks can absolutely be something that you pass down through the generations. I know I love looking at all of the old photos that have been passed down from my family. Oh, all right. If you liked what you saw, please go ahead and like and subscribe. I will have the cut file that I used for all of my Cricut pieces linked in the description bar. So if you are a Cricut user and you have Cricut access, or you happen to own the cartridge that I cut these from, you can go ahead and use that file. Thank you so much for watching, and if you liked what you saw, please go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel before you leave if you haven't already. Here's a couple videos that you might also be interested in, and until next time, happy scrapping! Bye!